The great crystal spires of Taliria Prime trembled as another wave of void ships darkened the sky. Elder Tylith watched from the communication tower as her people scrambled through the streets below, their crystalline bodies reflecting fractured rainbows across the once pristine buildings. This was the third planet they had fled to in as many cycles, and each time, the Void Dominion had found them. The evacuation transports cannot accommodate everyone, Commander Lirith reported, his crystal form dulled with exhaustion. We have perhaps 6 hours before the harvest begins. Stylith nodded, the movement sending small fractures through her aging crystal structure. She had lived 17 centuries, watched her civilization reach its golden age of art and science, and now witnessed its collapse in less than a decade. The council chambers. Now, she ordered. 20 minutes later, the 7 remaining elders gathered in the hastily established council chamber. Once, their meetings had been held in a grand amphitheater, with thousands of crystal-faceted seats. Now they huddled in an underground bunker, their forms illuminated only by their own bioluminescence. The Confederation has declined our request for asylum, Elder Voshin announced, his voice brittle with despair. The Klaxi Empire has blockaded their borders against refugees. The Marin Conclave refuses to even acknowledge our communications. Cowards, hissed Elder Trispin. They fear the Dominion will target them next. Xylith moved to the center of the room. Then we have one option remaining. The other elders shifted uncomfortably, creating a sound like wind chimes in a storm. The quantum transmitter is forbidden technology, Elder Nimith objected. Broadcasting our location across all frequencies will only hasten our demise. We are already dying, Xylith countered. If we broadcast to every corner of the galaxy, someone might answer. The advanced civilizations have already abandoned us, Trispin argued. Who else would have the capacity to help? Xylith's crystal form glowed with sudden intensity. There are thousands of species in this galaxy, many we have never contacted. Many the Confederation considers too primitive to join their ranks. The debate raged for precious minutes until a distant explosion rocked the chamber. Dust and crystal fragments rained from the ceiling. They've breached the outer defenses, Commander Lirith reported through the emergency communication system. We have less time than anticipated. Stylith didn't wait for further council approval. She approached the quantum transmitter, a forbidden device that had been sealed away for centuries due to its power consumption and the danger of attracting unwanted attention. Now that danger seemed irrelevant. Her crystalline fingers interfaced with the ancient technology, and she composed the message that would be translated into every known language protocol and broadcast across all frequencies. This is Elder Xylith of the Tellurian people. Our civilization faces extinction at the hands of the Void Dominion. They harvest living beings for energy and resources, consuming entire worlds. We have nowhere left to flee. If any civilization can offer sanctuary or assistance, we plead for your mercy. We have much knowledge to share in exchange. This is our final transmission. The quantum transmitter hummed to life, drawing power from their last functioning energy core. The message burst outward, rippling through subspace at speeds that defied conventional physics, bypassing the normal delays of light-speed communication. Across the galaxy, the message encountered indifference and fear. The bureaucratic Confederation of 20 Worlds formally filed the plea under extranormal communications. No action required. The Klaxi Empire actively jammed the transmission in their sectors. The Marin Conclave debated for 3 days before deciding the risk of Void Dominion reprisal outweighed any moral obligation. Meanwhile, on the outer rim of a spiral arm, a small blue-green planet received the signal. Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station in Antarctica registered an anomaly during a routine scan. Communications specialist Jin Hayashi yawned as he began his night shift, expecting another boring 12 hours of checking equipment and logging background radiation. When his console pinged with the unusual signal pattern, he almost dismissed it as interstellar noise, but something about the regularity caught his attention. Jin isolated the signal, cleaned it through advanced filters, and slowly realized he was looking at something extraordinary. "This isn't random noise," he whispered to himself as the translation matrix began decoding the alien language. "This is a cry for help." Jin's hand trembled as he reached for the emergency communication line to the United Earth Space Command. "Absolutely not." Admiral Chen's face filled the view screen of the _horizon_, his expression stern. "Captain Shin, your orders are to complete the survey of Sector 7G and return to Earth. This unknown transmission could be anything: a trap, a test, or a misinterpreted natural phenomenon." Captain Maya Shen stood straight-backed on the bridge of Earth's newest deep space exploration vessel. Behind her, the crew pretended to focus on their stations while straining to hear the conversation. "With respect, Admiral, I've sent you Communications Officer Rodriguez's analysis. This is clearly an artificial distress signal." "I've seen the analysis," Chen replied. "I've also seen the distance calculations. Even at maximum burn, you're 3 weeks from the signal's origin. Whatever is happening there will be long over by the time you arrive." "So we do nothing?" Maya challenged. The Admiral's face softened slightly. "I understand your instincts, Captain. But Space Command protocol is clear. First contact must be handled through official channels, not by a single exploration vessel. Return to your mission. That's a direct order." The transmission ended, leaving Maya staring at the United Earth Space Command logo. She turned to face her bridge crew, finding 12 pairs of eyes watching her intently. "Well," sighed Lieutenant Commander Dmitry Volkov, her executive officer, "that's that, then." Maya leaned against the captain's chair. "Is it?" Communications Officer Elena Rodriguez spoke up. "Captain, I've been working on the translation matrix. The message mentions something called the Void Dominion and uses the word harvest in a context that suggests, well, it doesn't sound good." Science Officer Dr. Aisha Okoy added, "I've analyzed the signal's degradation patterns. Whatever sent this message was using technology far beyond our current capabilities." She paused. "But they sound desperate." Maya looked around the bridge. At Rodriguez with her newly minted communications degree, at Volkov, who had left his Russian naval career to join Space Command, at Chief Engineer Tanaka, who had helped design the _horizons experimental drive system, at Security Chief Jackson, whose military background contrasted with the scientists around her. "I'm calling a full crew assembly in the main bay," Maya announced. 5 minutes. 4 minutes later, all 73 crew members of the _horizon gathered in the cavernous main bay. Maya stood on a cargo container to address them. "By now, you've all heard about the distress signal. Space Command has ordered us to ignore it and continue our mission." She let that sink in before continuing. "I'm putting this to a vote, knowing full well what I'm asking. If we alter course to investigate, I'll be disobeying a direct order. I alone will bear responsibility for that decision. But this ship operates as a democracy in extraordinary circumstances, as established in our charter." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Maya raised her hand for silence. "This is first contact with an unknown species begging for help. We would be 3 weeks off course, minimum. There may be danger. There will certainly be consequences for me when we return." She straightened her uniform jacket. "I need a show of hands. Who believes we should answer this call?" For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. Then, Chief Engineer Tanaka raised his hand. Dr. Okoy followed. Within seconds, every hand in the bay was raised. "Unanimous," Volkov noted quietly. Maya nodded, unexpected emotion tightening her throat. "All right then. Rodriguez, work with the science team on improving that translation matrix. Tanaka, I need everything the engines can give us. Jackson, run combat drills, just in case. We're going to need every advantage if we're walking into the middle of a conflict." As the crew dispersed to their stations, Maya returned to the bridge with Volkov. "You know we're gambling with 73 lives," he said. "I know," Maya replied. studying the star chart where a small blinking light marked the distress signal's origin. But some things are worth gambling for. The _horizon altered course, its experimental engines pushing to 110% capacity as it raced toward the unknown. Maya recorded a personal log entry that night, knowing it might one day be used in her court-martial. We're breaking every first contact protocol in the book. But if humanity aspires to join a galactic community, we cannot ignore its pleas for help. Whatever we find 3 weeks from now, we will face it together. And perhaps we will learn whether our compassion is unique in this universe, or merely one voice in a chorus of mercy. She couldn't know then how terribly unique that voice would prove to be. The _horizon dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Tellurian system, sensors immediately picking up the chaos ahead. Captain Shen ordered the ship to maintain distance while they assessed the situation. Multiple large vessels in orbit around the fourth planet, reported Lieutenant Park from the tactical station. Their energy signatures are off the charts, nothing like we've encountered before. On the main view screen, dark ships swarmed around a crystalline world. Even from this distance, the planet's surface glittered despite being partially obscured by the invading fleet. Are those harvesting beams? Dr. Okoye asked, adjusting the sensors. They're extracting something from the planet's crust. Security Chief Jackson leaned forward. They're strip mining the place with the population still on it. Communications Officer Rodriguez worked frantically at her station. Captain, I'm detecting thousands of communication signals, distress calls, evacuation orders, defense coordination. It's pandemonium down there. Maya made her decision. Activate our experimental cloaking system. We can't take on that fleet, but we might be able to help some evacuees escape. Chief Engineer Tanaka frowned. The cloaking system isn't rated for combat conditions, Captain. It was designed for scientific observation. Then we'll have to improvise, Maya replied. Rodriguez, can you isolate any evacuation signals? Find out where survivors might be gathering. Rodriguez nodded, her fingers flying across her console. After several tense minutes, she looked up. I've got something. There's a concentrated transmission pattern from what appears to be a government complex on the southern continent. They're coordinating the last evacuation ships. Tanaka, how close can we get without being detected? The engineer calculated quickly. If we route power from non-essential systems and modify the cloaking field harmonics to match their sensor frequencies, maybe close enough for a short-range communication. Do it, Maya ordered. Rodriguez, prepare a first contact message package. Let them know we're responding to their distress call and want to help with evacuations. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency despite the unprecedented situation. 20 minutes later, the _horizon edged closer to the planet, running dark except for essential systems. Transmission ready, Rodriguez reported. Send it, Maya ordered, narrow beam, directly to the government complex coordinates. The seconds stretched into minutes as they waited for a response. Finally, Rodriguez's console chimed. Captain, we're receiving a reply, text only, but our translation matrix is handling it reasonably well. The message appeared on the main screen. *unknown vessel, we cannot believe someone answered. Our final diplomatic ship departs in 30 minutes from coordinates attached. Most of our leadership is aboard. If you truly wish to help, provide cover for their escape. We have little to offer in return except our knowledge and eternal gratitude. Elder Xylith, Tellurian High Council. *. Maya didn't hesitate. Helm, take us to those coordinates. Jackson, prepare defensive measures. I want options that won't give away our position. Tanaka, how long can we sustain the cloak at full power? 45 minutes maximum before we risk system failure. Then we have a small window to make this work. The _horizon slipped through the chaos of the invasion, weaving between massive harvesters and smaller attack craft. As they approached the provided coordinates, they spotted a sleek crystalline ship preparing for departure from a crumbling spaceport. 5 Void Dominion interceptors on approach, Park warned. They've detected the Tellurian ship's power-up sequence. Maya surveyed her options. Tanaka, can we create a sensor ghost? Something to draw them away. The engineer's eyes lit up. We could modify our deflector dish to project false engine signatures. Make it look like multiple ships are breaking orbit on the far side of the planet. Do it, Maya ordered. Minutes later, the Void interceptors changed course, pursuing phantom targets. The crystalline ship rose shakily from the surface, clearly damaged but operational. Rodriguez, establish contact. Tell them to follow our transmission signal to safety. As the Tellurian ship limped away from the planet, the _Horizon_ positioned itself between the evacuees and any pursuit. When 2 Void fighters broke off to investigate the escaping diplomatic vessel, Jackson deployed a series of automated drones, ordinarily used for stellar phenomenon research, reconfigured to emit conflicting sensor readings. The confusion bought them just enough time. Once clear of the planet's gravity well, both ships engaged the irrespective FTL drives and vanished into the depths of space. In the relative safety of deep space, hours later, the _Horizon_ established visual communication with the Tellurian vessel. The screen filled with the image of a being unlike anything the humans had imagined. A humanoid figure composed of interlocking crystal structures that shifted and refracted light, creating internal rainbows with every movement. I am Elder Tyleth, the crystalline being said, her translated voice tinged with both exhaustion and wonder. And you are the impossible answer to our desperate plea. Maya stepped forward. I'm Captain Maya Shin of the Earth vessel _Horizon_. We received your distress call and came to help. Earth, Syleth repeated thoughtfully. We have no records of your civilization. We're relatively new to interstellar travel, Maya admitted. Yet you came when ancient spacefaring empires turned their backs. Syleth observed. Her crystalline form shimmered with what the humans would later learn was the Tellurian equivalent of tears. How do we thank those who risked everything for strangers? Maya's answer was simple. By surviving. That's all the thanks we need. Absolutely unacceptable. The United Nations Secretary-General slammed her hand on the podium. Captain Shen not only violated direct orders, but has now brought an alien vessel into Earth's orbit without authorization or proper quarantine protocols. The emergency session of the UN Security Council had been ongoing for 6 hours. On screens worldwide, humans watched with a mixture of fear, excitement, and uncertainty as military vessels surrounded both the _Horizon_ and the crystalline Tellurian diplomatic ship. Captain Maya Shen stood before the hastily assembled panel of world leaders, her uniform pressed despite her exhaustion. Madam Secretary General, there was no time for protocols. The Tellurians have lost their homeworld and 3 colony planets. Their diplomatic vessel carries their remaining leadership and critical cultural archives. They have nowhere else to go. That's precisely the problem. The Russian representative interjected. You've made Earth a target for this void dominion by harboring their refugees. The Chinese delegate nodded in agreement. We have only begun exploring beyond our solar system. We are not prepared for interstellar conflict. In the observation gallery, Communications Officer Rodriguez whispered to Dr. Okoye. They're acting like we had a choice, like we could have just left them to die. Humans always fear what they don't understand, Okoye replied quietly. The Brazilian ambassador's voice cut through the tension. While I share security concerns, we cannot ignore the technological opportunity this presents. The Tellurians possess knowledge that could advance our civilization by centuries. So we exploit refugees for their technology. The Nigerian representative stood. This is not who we are. Earth has a long history of humanitarian crisis. How can we turn away those who have lost everything, especially when they came to us for mercy? As the debate continued, Elder Xylith watched from quarantine aboard the _Horizon_, the proceedings transmitted to her by Maya's crew. Your people argue openly with your leaders, she asked Lieutenant Volkov, who had been assigned as liaison. He nodded. Democracy is messy, but it's how we prevent any single perspective from dominating. Where I come from, such public discord would shatter a government, Syleth said, her crystalline form shifting hues with her emotions, currently a deep blue of confusion. Where we come from, Volkov replied with a slight smile, it's how we prevent governments from shattering us. While nations bickered, humanity acted. University research departments volunteered facilities to house Tellurian scholars. Technology companies offered resources to analyze the compatibility of their systems. Hospitals prepared to study Tellurian physiology to provide proper care. On social media, the hashtag #WeAnswered trended globally. Thousands gathered in major cities with signs bearing messages of welcome. Religious leaders from diverse faiths issued statements about the moral obligation to help those in need, regardless of their origin. In orbit, aboard the Tellurian ship, Ambassador Crystallis, a younger diplomat whose facets glowed with vibrant energy, spoke with Dr. Okoye during a scientific exchange. We expected rescue from the Confederation of 20 Worlds, or perhaps the Marin Conclave, Crystallis admitted. Species with vast fleets and advanced technology. Sometimes the most advanced technology isn't what you need, Okoye replied, showing Crystallis a tablet displaying Earth's outpouring of support. Sometimes you just need someone willing to help. After 3 days of heated debate, the UN Security Council reached a compromise. The Tellurians would be granted temporary asylum on Earth's moon, where a research and diplomatic outpost would be established. In exchange, they would share knowledge that could help Earth defend itself should the Void Dominion follow. As preparations began for the Tellurians' relocation to Lunar Base Alpha, Captain Shen received a private message from Admiral Chen. Your court-martial has been indefinitely postponed. The message read, officially, I'm still furious with you. Unofficially, you did the right thing, Maya. The kind of thing I hope we always do, no matter how far among the stars we travel. That evening, Maya sat with Elder Xylith in the _Horizons _observation lounge, both looking down at the blue-green planet below. Your species confuses me, Xylith admitted. Your leaders argue while your people unite. You have primitive technology yet show more courage than civilizations with millennium-old starfleets. You have no unified government, yet you act with one heart when it matters. Maya considered this. Humans are contradictory by nature. It's our greatest weakness and our greatest strength. The Void Dominion will eventually discover where we've gone, Xylith said quietly. They will come here. I know, Maya replied. And when they do, they'll find something they've never encountered before. What is that? Maya smiled. A species that doesn't know when it's supposed to be afraid. Lunar Base Alpha, originally designed as a research outpost, had transformed in just 3 weeks. The stark utilitarian corridors now glittered with Tellurian crystal growths that served as both art and functional technology, bathing the previously harsh lighting in rainbow hues. Dr. Sanjay Patel, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stared at the holographic equations floating in the center of the laboratory. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but he couldn't tear himself away from the mathematical beauty before him. This power generation theory is centuries beyond our current understanding, he admitted to Crystallis, the Tellurian scientist working alongside him. With this, we could solve Earth's energy crisis overnight. Crystallis tilted her crystalline head, facets catching the light. Yet you haven't applied similar mathematics to your propulsion systems or weapons technology. Why? We never made the connection, Sanjay said, rubbing his eyes. Our theoretical physics and our practical engineering evolved on different tracks. Across the base, in what had been converted into a tactical center, Security Chief Jackson demonstrated Earth's defense systems to a group of Tellurian military strategists. She loaded a railgun round into a prototype weapon and fired it at a test target, the hypersonic projectile punching through reinforced barrier materials. Kinetic weapons? Asked Lyrith, The Tellurian commander. The Confederation abandoned these millennia ago, when energy shields became standard. Jackson grinned. That's exactly why they're effective. Energy shields stop energy weapons, but physical objects still need physical barriers. Most advanced species forget the basics while chasing the cutting edge. The Tellurian military contingent exchanged glances, their crystal forms shifting to a pale green that humans had learned indicated surprise or revelation. In the medical bay, Dr. Okoye worked with Tellurian healers to understand their crystalline biology. Your cellular structure is silicon-based rather than carbon, she marveled. Yet you have systems analogous to our cardiovascular and nervous systems. Convergent evolution, explained the Tellurian healer. Different building blocks, similar solutions. The knowledge exchange flowed both ways. Humans provided practical innovation and outside-the-box thinking, while Tellurians offered advanced theoretical frameworks and elegant technological solutions. In the command center, Captain Shen met with Elder Xylith and Admiral Chen, who had arrived from Earth for direct consultations. The Void Dominion uses a hive mind intelligence, Xylith explained, manipulating a holographic display to show the dark, vein-like ships. They operate as extensions of a single consciousness. This makes them incredibly coordinated but somewhat predictable. And they've conquered how many civilizations? Admiral Chen asked. 17 that we know of, Xylith replied softly. All more advanced than Earth, technologically speaking. Admiral Chen's expression remained stoic, but Maya could see the concern in his eyes. Then we need to be unpredictable, Maya suggested. If they're a single mind controlling many bodies, they'll expect rational, coordinated resistance, which humanity rarely provides, Chen added with a hint of irony. Their meeting was interrupted by an urgent call from Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Network. Jin Hayashi, the communications specialist who had first detected the Tellurian distress signal, appeared on screen. We've detected unusual subspace distortions at the edge of our solar system, he reported. Pattern matches what the Tellurians described as Void Dominion scout ships. The room fell silent. They had expected this, but not so soon. How long do we have? Chen asked. At their current trajectory, 3 weeks, maybe less, Jin replied. Admiral Chen turned to Elder Xylith. It seems your pursuers have found you. The Elder's crystal form darkened to a deep indigo. I am sorry to have brought this to your world. Maya stepped forward. We knew the risks when we answered your call. We'll face this together. Admiral Chen nodded, then activated the base-wide communication system. Attention all personnel. As of this moment, we are initiating Operation Mercy Shield. All theoretical work is to be fast-tracked to practical applications. We have 3 weeks to prepare Earth's defenses. As the announcement concluded, Maya noticed something unexpected. The humans didn't panic. Scientists immediately began discussing implementation strategies with their Tellurian counterparts. Security personnel accelerated weapons testing. Medical teams focused on treatment protocols for potential casualties. Later that evening, Maya found Dr. Patel and Crystalis still working in the lab, surrounded by fabrication designs. You should rest, she suggested. Patel looked up, his eyes bloodshot but determined. We've adapted the Tellurian quantum field theory to our existing shield technology. It's not perfect, but it's better than anything we had before. Your species continues to surprise us, Crystalis said. The Confederation would have spent years debating the proper response. You simply act. Maya smiled tiredly. It's a human thing. When there's no time for perfect, we make imperfect work. As she left them to their work, Maya walked the glittering corridors of the transformed lunar base, a physical manifestation of what could be accomplished when two vastly different species united against a common threat. Humans with their practical ingenuity and willingness to take risks, Tellurians with their advanced theories and elegant solutions. Together, perhaps they stood a chance against what was coming. Together, they would show the Void Dominion something it had never encountered before: mercy with teeth. This is absolute madness, Admiral Chen muttered as he looked out the viewport of Lunar Base Alpha's command center. Outside, in lunar orbit, an unprecedented sight had taken shape over the past 2 weeks. Hundreds of vessels, ranging from modified military ships to repurposed commercial freighters and even privately owned spacecraft, had gathered in a makeshift armada. Earth's official defense fleet comprised just 37 vessels. The volunteer fleet now numbered over 300. I believe your species calls it crowdsourcing, Elder Tylith observed, standing beside him. Maya Shen joined them at the viewport. When word spread about the approaching Void Dominion, people didn't wait for government directives. They just showed up. The fleet was chaotic by any military standard. Mining ships retrofitted with hastily manufactured weapon systems floated alongside sleek military vessels. Cruise liners repurposed as medical ships and personnel carriers. Corporate security vessels with company logos still emblazoned on their hulls. They can't possibly expect to survive against void technology, Chen said. Perhaps not, Sylith replied. But they came anyway. Maya's communication device chimed. The final briefing is starting. The command center filled with an eclectic group of vessel captains and crew representatives, retired military personnel, commercial pilots, adventure seekers, and idealists. On screens around the room, hundreds more participated remotely from their ships. Maya stepped to the center of the room, adjusting her newly issued uniform as Fleet Commander, a position the United Earth Council had created specifically for this mission. Our deep space monitoring has confirmed the Void Dominion fleet has entered our solar system, she began without preamble. We have approximately 60 hours before their main force arrives. Our mission is not to engage them directly in Earth's orbit, but to intercept them at the edge of the solar system and lead them away from our homeworld. Murmurs spread through the assembly. We're the bait, a gruff ex-military captain stated. Yes, Maya replied honestly. We draw them toward the gas giant Saturn, where we've placed quantum field disruptors based on Tellurian designs. The disruptors will temporarily disable their hive mind communication, creating confusion in their ranks. Lieutenant Commander Volkov activated a holographic display showing the battle plan. Each ship has been assigned to a specific tactical group based on their capabilities. Military vessels will provide primary firepower. Mining ships will deploy modified industrial lasers and electromagnetic harpoons. Medical ships will remain at the perimeter for emergency response. What about those of us with no weapons at all? Asked the captain of a converted science vessel. Crystallis stepped forward. Your ships will be equipped with Tellurian resonance generators. They cannot damage void vessels, but they can create sensor ghosts, false targets that will confuse their targeting systems. The briefing continued with specific tactical assignments. When it concluded, Admiral Chen addressed the assembly. I want to be clear about the odds, he said solemnly. We are facing a technologically superior enemy, with centuries of conquest behind them. We have cobbled together a defensive force in less than 3 weeks. Many of you have minimal combat training. Some of you have none. He paused, looking around the room. By all logical analysis, this mission is suicidal. That's why participation remains strictly voluntary. Anyone wishing to return to Earth can do so without dishonor. The room remained silent. No one moved toward the exit. A young woman in a retrofitted commercial transport uniform stood. My grandparents were refugees who found sanctuary on Earth when their homeland was torn by war. How could I do any less for others? An elderly man in a mining vessel captain's uniform joined her. I'm too old to have many years left anyway. Might as well make them count for something. One by one, others added their voices. Different reasons, different backgrounds, but the same resolve. Maya felt Elder Xylif's crystal hand touch her shoulder gently. In all our recorded history, the Elder whispered, we have never witnessed anything like this. Most species flee from the Dominion. Your people fly toward it. It's not courage, Maya replied quietly. Not really. It's just, we can't stand by when others are in danger, even when helping means risking everything. 6 hours later, the makeshift fleet departed lunar orbit in a staggered formation that would have made any military tactician cringe. Military precision had been sacrificed for sheer numerical advantage, a chaotic swarm of vessels united only by their common purpose. From the command deck of the _Horizon _, now designated as the fleet flagship, Maya watched the armada spread out among the stars. "We look like absolute amateurs," Volkov commented. "Good," Maya replied. "Let them underestimate us." As the fleet accelerated toward its rendezvous with destiny, Maya received one final communication from Admiral Chen. "They're calling it the Mercy Fleet down on Earth," he informed her. "Godspeed, Commander Shen. Show the galaxy what humanity stands for." Maya nodded, then turned to address her bridge crew. "Set course for the outer system. We have a date with the Void." "Void Dominion vessels entering sensor range," Lieutenant Park announced, her voice steady despite the tension permeating the _Horizons bridge. Maya Shen stood at the command station, watching as the tactical display populated with incoming signals. The enemy fleet materialized on screen. Sleek, dark ships with vein-like protrusions pulsing with ominous energy. Unlike the chaotic arrangement of the human Tellurian fleet, the Void vessels moved in perfect geometric formations, their coordination unnervingly precise. 27 capital ships, Volkov counted, over 100 smaller attack craft. All vessels maintain communication discipline, Maya ordered through the fleet-wide channel. Hold formation according to battle plan Mercy Shield. The human Tellurian armada held position near Saturn's rings, where automated quantum disruptors had been strategically placed. The massive gas giant loomed behind them, its majestic rings providing both cover and tactical advantage. "They're scanning us," Rodriguez reported from communications. Extensive sensor sweeps across all frequencies. On the viewer, the Void fleet's advance slowed, their perfect formation hesitating. "They're confused," Elder Dilith observed from her position at the auxiliary science station. "Your fleet composition makes no sense to them. They expected either surrender or a conventional military response." "Confusion is good," Maya replied. "Confusion means they'll make mistakes." The largest Void vessel, a massive dagger-shaped craft, nearly a kilometer long, moved to the center of their formation. A transmission cut through all communication channels, overriding security protocols. "Attention inferior life forms," a multi-toned voice reverberated across every ship in the human fleet. "We are the Void Dominion. Your protection of Tellurian refugees is noted. Surrender them immediately, and we will harvest only 10% of your population as compensation. Resistance will result in total consumption of your biosphere." Maya exchanged glances with Elder Tylith before responding. "This is Fleet Commander Maya Shen of Earth. We have a counteroffer. Leave this system immediately, and we'll let you keep the ships you came in." For several seconds, silence dominated the channel. Then, biological humor. "Inefficient communication. We will demonstrate our superiority." The Void fleet surged forward, their formation breaking into attack patterns with fluid precision. "They took the bait," Maya announced. "All vessels, execute Phase 1. The human Tellurian fleet scattered in what appeared to be panicked disarray, but was actually a carefully choreographed maneuver designed to draw the Void vessels towards Saturn's rings. The first wave of Void attack craft streaked toward the seemingly vulnerable medical and science vessels at the fleet's perimeter. Just as they came within firing range, the civilian ships activated their Tellurian resonance generators. Suddenly, instead of a dozen vulnerable targets, the Void attackers faced what appeared to be hundreds of identical vessels, sensor ghosts indistinguishable from the real ships. Confusion registered in their tactical network, Rodriguez reported, monitoring the intercepted Void communications. Their targeting systems are trying to compensate. As the Void forces hesitated, the retrofitted mining vessels moved into position, deploying electromagnetic harpoons, originally designed to secure asteroids for mining operations, now repurposed as weapons. The massive energy bolts slammed into several Void attack craft, not damaging them significantly but disrupting their shield harmonics. Phase 2, Maya ordered. The military vessels that had been hanging back now surged forward, their conventional weapons targeting the points where the mining harpoons had disrupted the Void shields. Kinetic projectiles, simple railgun rounds accelerated to hypersonic speeds, tore through previously impenetrable defenses. 3 Void attack craft exploded in quick succession. They're adapting, Volkov warned as the remaining Void vessels adjusted their shield frequencies. As expected, Maya replied. All vessels, execute Phase 3. The human fleet broke formation entirely, each ship now operating independently instead of following conventional military tactics. Mining vessels charged directly at Void capital ships. Science vessels performed erratic maneuvers while broadcasting contradictory sensor data. Military vessels ignored primary targets to attack seemingly random objectives. From the perspective of the hive mind Void Dominion, the human response defied logical analysis. Their perfect coordination faced an enemy that behaved like hundreds of individual entities with separate agendas, because that's exactly what they were. We've reached the disruptor field perimeter, Park announced. All vessels, prepare for quantum pulse, Maya ordered. As the core of the Void fleet pursued what they believed to be easy targets, they entered the invisible net of quantum disruptors hidden among Saturn's rings. Commander Lyrith activated the Tellurian devices from his position on the fleet's engineering support vessel. A wave of subspace energy rippled outward, temporarily severing the connection between the Void vessels and their central consciousness. For the first time in their existence, the drone pilots experienced individuality, and the fear that came with it. The perfect formations disintegrated. Some vessels froze in place, others fired randomly. A few even collided with each other in their confusion. All vessels, execute final attack pattern, Maya commanded. Target the flagship. The human Tellurian fleet converged on the massive dagger-shaped vessel, their combined firepower focusing on a single point where initial scans had detected a power regulation node. The Void flagship's shields buckled under the concentrated assault. Just as Maya prepared to order the killing blow, Elder Gylith stepped forward. "Commander," she said urgently, "we're detecting unusual energy readings from the flagship. If their main power core destabilizes, all vessels, break off attack and clear the blast radius." Maya ordered immediately. The human fleet scattered just as the Void flagship imploded, the release of energy far more devastating than anticipated. The quantum singularity that powered the massive vessel collapsed, creating a temporary rift in spacetime that consumed several nearby Void ships and 2 human vessels that couldn't retreat fast enough. As the rift collapsed upon itself, the remaining Void vessels began a disorganized retreat, their hive mind temporarily shattered by the quantum disruption and the loss of their command ship. The bridge of the _horizon fell silent as the tactical display confirmed the enemy withdrawal. Slowly, status reports began flowing in from the fleet. 7 human vessels destroyed, 23 severely damaged, hundreds of casualties. But they had won, against all odds, against an enemy that had conquered civilizations far more advanced than Earth. The makeshift human fleet had forced the Void Dominion to retreat. "They'll be back," Volkov said quietly, "once they reconnect to their central consciousness and analyze what happened." "Yes," Maya agreed, "but now they know we can hurt them. And next time, we'll be ready." Elder Xylith's crystalline form glowed with an emotion the humans had never seen before, a deep violet hue that reflected both grief and hope. "Today," she said, "the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented. Not just victory against the Void, but why you fought. Not for conquest or resources, but to protect those who could not protect themselves." She turned to Maya. "We pleaded for mercy, and humanity answered. That answer will echo across the stars, Commander Shen. The story of what happened here today will reach other worlds, other species suffering under void oppression. You have given them something the Dominion cannot comprehend or counteract. What's that? Maya asked. Hope, Syleth replied simply. You have given them hope. 3 months after the Battle of Saturn, Maya Shen stood before the newly formed Interstellar Defense Council, a joint human-Tellurian governing body established to coordinate their united efforts against the Void Dominion. The chamber, constructed within Lunar Base Alpha, blended human utilitarian design with Tellurian crystalline aesthetics. The Void Dominion has withdrawn to the edge of the Orion Arm, Maya reported, gesturing to the star map displayed behind her. But our intelligence suggests they're regrouping, not retreating. They've never faced defeat before, and they don't know how to process it. Admiral Chen nodded. Our victory bought us time, not peace. The question is how we use that time. Elder Tyleth stepped forward, her crystalline form now adorned with a small Earth emblem, a gift from the United Nations in recognition of the Alliance. We've received transmissions from resistance movements on 3 worlds under void occupation, she announced. News of your victory has spread through underground channels. Species that had accepted their fate as inevitable are now questioning that assumption. The council chamber buzzed with excited conversation. Maya exchanged glances with Volkov, who had been promoted to captain of the Horizon following Maya's elevation to fleet commander. They're looking to us for leadership, she observed quietly. Because we did what no one else would, he replied. The council meeting continued, discussing resource allocation, defense preparations, and diplomatic outreach. As formal proceedings concluded, Jin Hayashi, the communications specialist who had first detected the Tellurian distress call, requested the floor. We've intercepted something unusual, he reported. A transmission in a Confederation diplomatic frequency. They're requesting direct communication with Earth. The chamber fell silent. The Confederation of 20 Worlds, the advanced alliance that had ignored the Tellurians' plea, was now seeking contact. A holographic figure materialized in the center of the chamber, a tall, elegant being with silver-blue skin and elongated features. I am High Counselor Vexalia of the Confederation, the figure announced. We wish to establish diplomatic relations with Earth and to offer our apologies to the Tellurian people for our previous inaction. Elder Kyleth stepped forward. Apologies do not resurrect our dead, High Counselor. No, Vexalia acknowledged. They do not. But perhaps Alliance can prevent more deaths of all our peoples. The Void Dominion has never suffered defeat. Now that the impossible has happened, they will focus all their resources on eliminating the threat you represent. Admiral Chen crossed his arms. So now that we've proven ourselves useful, you want an alliance. We want to survive, Vexalia replied bluntly. And we recognize that your species possesses something that our advanced civilizations have lost over millennia of peace and prosperity. And what is that? Maya asked. Courage, Vexalia said simply. The willingness to act when action seems futile. The refusal to accept that some evils cannot be opposed. We observed your battle tactics, studied your improvised fleet. By any logical analysis, you should have been annihilated. Instead, you prevailed through methods our strategists would never have considered. The council debated late into the night before reaching a decision. Earth would accept the Confederation's diplomatic overture, not out of forgiveness, but pragmatism. More allies meant better odds against the coming storm. 1 week later, Maya found herself aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel, accompanying the joint human-Tellurian delegation. The massive ship dwarfed anything humans had built, its technology seemingly magical in its sophistication. High Counselor Vexalia led them to the observation deck, where representatives from 17 species gathered, the full membership of the Confederation. We have much to discuss, Vexalia began. But first, there is something you should see. The massive view screen activated, showing a distant planet under void occupation. As they watched, small explosions bloomed across the surface. Not random destruction, but coordinated strikes against void control centers. This began 3 days ago, Vexalia explained. The indigenous population, inspired by news of your victory, launched a resistance movement. They are using tactics similar to your own, unpredictable, individualistic, seemingly irrational yet effective. They're fighting back, Maya whispered. Yes, Vexalia confirmed. And they are not alone. Similar uprisings have begun on 6 other occupied worlds. The Void Dominion faces something they have never encountered before, a multi-front war against enemies who do not behave as expected. Elder Xylith's crystalline form glowed with emotion, all because one small vessel answered a desperate plea when everyone else turned away. As the delegation returned to Earth, Maya spent hours in the ship's observation lounge, watching the stars stream by. Captain Volkov found her there, offering a cup of coffee. Credit for your thoughts, Commander. Maya accepted the coffee gratefully. I was thinking about consequences, how one decision, to answer a distress call against orders, changed the course of galactic history. For the better, I'd say. I hope so, Maya replied. We've started something that's grown beyond us now. Millions will die in this conflict before it's over. And billions would have died if the Void Dominion had continued unchallenged, Volkov countered. Sometimes the most powerful act isn't defeating an enemy, but showing others that defeat is possible. As their ship approached Earth, communications channels lit up with incoming transmissions, refugees from void-dominated worlds seeking sanctuary, resistance fighters requesting tactical advice, even merchants offering trade opportunities. The galaxy was awakening from a long nightmare of inevitability. 6 months later, Maya stood with Elder Xylith at the dedication ceremony for Unity Station, a massive space platform built by joint Human-Tellurian Confederation efforts to serve as headquarters for the growing alliance against the Void Dominion. As representatives from 27 species gathered to formalize their coalition, Elder Xylith addressed the assembly. When our world burned and our people faced extinction, we sent a desperate message to the stars. Advanced civilizations with vast fleets and powerful weapons turned away. But one species, one that had barely begun reaching for the stars, answered our call. She paused, her crystalline form glowing with emotion. We pleaded for mercy, only humanity answered. And in so doing, they taught the galaxy its most important lesson, that true civilization is measured not by technological achievement, but by the courage to extend compassion when fear counsels otherwise. Maya watched as the delegates rose in a standing ovation, a cacophony of different beings united by a common purpose. The war against the Void Dominion would be long and costly, but for the first time, it was a war they might actually win. Because sometimes, all it takes to change the universe is one small act of mercy.